Hey, this is Mrs. Smekens, and in this lesson series, we're working on comparing two texts. We've been looking at literature. We've been looking at comparing text A, story A, to story B. We've learned to use a T-chart. We've learned that you put all the details for the first story on one side and all the details about the second story on the other side, and you then compare them for categories that are story elements. We learned that when you look at fiction, you're going to compare them for main characters and setting and problem and solution. And we've also learned that when you compare two stories, you've got to make sure that you're looking at not only what is different about two different stories, but also what they have in common. Okay, so in this lesson, what I'd like to do is say, yeah, but what if you're not reading two fictional stories? What if you're reading about two topics? What if instead of text A and B, you were comparing topic A and B? It's still going to use the T-chart. It's going to still use the same process. It still needs categories. But do you see how the categories cannot be story elements? Remember when we were comparing traditional school to e-school, remote distance learning school? You didn't compare them for story elements, did you? And we compared sport A to sport B. Some of you did. Or maybe you chose the task of comparing Snapchat to Instagram. You understand that these are topics, right? These aren't stories. So how did you compare them? What were the categories? Well, the categories, I gave them to you. And that's the only way it worked. I told you I want you to compare traditional school and e-school for physical space, for classes, and for social opportunities. I want you to compare sports with equipment, rules, players, and fans as your categories. Or Snapchat and Instagram, compare the content on both platforms. Compare the purpose. Why would someone ever make such a post? And who uses these two different platforms? The reason that worked and that you didn't really see the importance of category was because that was the very first lesson. And I just wanted you to understand what a T-chart was. I just wanted you to understand how you need to have categories, and you got to really work on having similarities and differences on both sides. But in the real world, the teacher stops giving you the categories. When he or she says, compare these two events in history, these two body systems, these two planets, these two presidents, these two anythings, we stop giving you the categories like in third grade. That's part of what you have to do as a reader is figure out what are your categories of comparison. What are they going to be? Because they're not story elements, but what are they? And one of the things I wanted you to notice as I was reviewing the Snapchat and the sports one and the school one was that the categories are always changing. In nonfiction, the categories are not always the same like they are in literature. That's the reason I started with literature, because it's easier to know what the categories are. It's always story elements, but that's just not true when it's nonfiction. Okay, so in this lesson, I want to show you how do you do this? How do you go about doing this, figuring out what the categories of comparison are? You're still going to use a T-chart. You're still going to use the same steps, all right? And I'll show you how to do it first, and then you're going to do it with me. Okay, and so let's pretend that we have read and learned a lot about from nonfiction reading about the value of going to college. Okay, and so we want to compare what we've learned fact and detail wise about going to college to not going to college and going right into the workforce after high school. Okay, and so we want to compare those two topics, right? Those are topics. I probably read 3 or 4 different texts, but I have these topics at this point. And so I want to use the details I've learned and write a comparison. Okay, so you do understand that the first thing I have to do is read all about going to college and collect details with my reading voice, think about them, and just understand individual details. That's step 1. Okay, then step 2 would be do the same thing, but for the other topic, going into the workforce. So I'm going to read several texts and collect facts and details and think about them, make sense of them. I cannot do any comparison of these two topics until I first read and collected information about them individually. On your screen is my pretend collected information. Do you see how there's no rows? You see how it's just two lists? Yeah. So all you do, you don't have rows when you first are getting ready for a comparison. First, you have to read and just, what do you know? Topic A. Read, what do you know? Topic B. Then you move into step 3 where we start to find groupings, okay? So even though I'm using a T-chart up here and you see my rows, pretend for a little bit, for right now, there are no rows. It's just columns headed by go to college versus go into the workforce. And let's actually use some real information here. So Mrs. Smekens has already done some of the reading. She's already collected a lot of facts and what I learned about the value of going to college and what I learned about the value of going right into the workforce, just facts and details I gathered from several sources. I want to review these with you while I put them up here on my T-chart, okay? Because I'm going to put them up here with sticky notes. And so let me zoom in, okay, and just read this list to you as I quickly put it up in no particular order because all I'm doing is listing details. That's all I'm doing. Okay, so the first, and I just abbreviated, but all the information is there. The first bullet under go to college is that college provides life-changing experiences. They will shape you and shape your beliefs. The next bullet I learned about the value of college is it gives you more job opportunities and flexible job opportunities. You, when you go to college, immediately take charge of your own learning. I also learned that you might make more money with a college degree, but you're going to have more debt most likely too because of college tuition expenses. The next bullet says that you're going to be exposed to a wide range of people, different beliefs, different backgrounds. I also learned under this next bullet that college helps build what are called soft skills, your communication skills, your work ethic, your initiative. In addition, some of the texts I read talked about the friends you make in college and how they'll be lifelong friends, that you'll learn more discipline and how to persevere because college is hard. You're going to struggle and be alone and you've got to figure it out on your own, persevere. And then the last bullet there under the left side talks about that you start building a network of contacts, professional contacts, you know, your professors and internship people that you meet in order to help you with your real world job to come. Okay, boom. I just read and collected details. Okay, then step 2, read and collect details about the second text. So now I'm going to just read through the details about the value of going into the workforce right after high school. First bullet says you gain independence. You immediately start managing your own money. I'll put that up there. Second bullet says that on the job learning education, priceless. So I'm putting that up. Third bullet says every job, any job, all jobs are going to grow and shape you. You're going to learn things. That you begin networking with employers right away, even when your college friends are in classes, because you're already working and meeting employers. Next bullet says that jobs are requiring continuous learning and education. You're going to have to take training programs. You're going to have license renewal, recertification. In going right into the workforce, you also will have soft skills, and employers really value soft skills like communication and work ethic, initiative as well. Okay, you're going to meet people and build relationships with your coworkers when you're on the job right away. Some of your jobs will help you figure out what you don't want to do for the rest of your life. I also read and picked up this detail that different jobs expose you to different people and beliefs and perspectives. And finally, if you just go right into the workforce, you can be very happy and very productive without a college degree. All right. So far, all I've done are steps 1 and 2. I read and collected information about one topic, and I read sources and collected information about a second topic. All right. So now is when we do the hard work of figuring out our categories, because I'm not going to give them to you. No. And your teacher's not going to give them to you. And a standardized test is not going to tell you, now compare college to work for this, and this. No, that's part of your job. So how do you do it? No, it's Some of you immediately think, oh, I know. I saw one. You said soft skills and soft skills. I'm going to do that. Miss Smekens, the first row should be soft skills. Move all those out of the way. It's soft skill. What? No. Now, wait a minute. You're going to make the whole row about soft skills? A row is a paragraph. How you going to write 5 sentences with similarities and differences? You only got one detail. This is not how you group details. No, you're trying to just get her done. It's not how it works. Let's get these out of the way. No. Okay, so let Mrs. Smekens show you how this works. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on one side. You don't look across. You look at one side. And what am I looking for? I'm looking to group details that go together. Because the key is you have to have multiple sticky note details to call it a group. Soft skills was one sticky note. One detail is not a group. A group implies multiple details. That's how you're going to get a paragraph of information. So Mrs. Smekens is just going to pick up one of these categories one of these details, and I see going to college is where I could learn discipline and perseverance. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just think. I'm just going to think. Okay, so because you have struggles, and so you're growing, you're learning and you're growing. So I want to look for any more details on this side only that I could put with this and start to make a group about going to college is where you can grow yourself. So I'm not even going to put this down. I'm not even going to put it down yet. I'm just looking for where I can grow personally. And so I see here, shaping my beliefs, life-changing experiences in college. They're shaping my beliefs, and I'm growing in my discipline. Okay, now watch this. I'm going to grab my yellow sticky note. Why? Because it's my thinking voice that is seeing the group. Look, that's yellow. Not by accident, people. That is yellow on purpose because I am thinking, how do these details go together? You're growing as a person through struggles. You're learning about yourself. So I'm writing that down. Growing through struggles, learning about self. I'm jotting those down. Okay, so now watch this. I'm starting to see a grouping because I have at least 2 details now. So I'm going to put those down along with this, okay? And so now I want to see if there are any more still in this side about growing personally, learning about myself. Okay, I see here more job opportunities and flexible jobs with a no, that's not about me personally. Exposed to a wide range of people. Well, because I'm going to learn about other people. learn about myself and others. See, as I add a detail, now I can adjust by thinking about it a little bit. You know what's huge? This thinking voice, these notes in yellow are huge for when you're ready to write about why you put them in a group. This tells you why you see this grouping. Okay, now there might be some more here, but let me pause because right now, all I've done is group related information for one topic, and I found this possible grouping. Now, wait a minute. I can't slap a category here. No, not yet. No, because in order to compare the text, that grouping has to work for both topics. So I have topic A, going to college, but now I got to see if I can get a similar grouping that fits with this idea of personal growing and learning, and it fits the whole idea of going right into the workforce. So you got a group, but now that I've got one, now I slide over and I start immediately looking for anything about growing personally. And so I see here, any and all jobs shape and grow you. Grow you, shape you, yes. All right, now that's not a group though, because that's just one detail. Is there anything else? Continuous training, lifelong learning. Well, it's learning and growing, but it's not it's not the personal. Yeah, I'm going to move that down, and I'm not going to put it in that group. I'm going to do personal growing. That's really what I'm looking for, is personal growing. So I have one detail, but do I have any others here? Different jobs expose you to different people. Again, that was similar. Personal growing about self and others. Yes, I'm going to jot that down and include that up here too. Whoops. So I have this idea of a grouping. Do you see how this is working? And I'm sure I have more that I got, but I've got at least two. So I've got a grouping. Okay, so now I'm ready for this. I'm ready to put a category on it. I'm ready to give it a name because it fits for both. And my after reading thinking says, okay, I need a category that talks about personal growing and others and growing and learning about yourself and struggles. And I'm starting to think that this idea of personal growth would work well. And so I'm writing down personal growth, personal learning, personal development. Some people might think of it as satisfaction, contentment, learning about others. Look, boom, right there. And do you see how it's on pink? You know why it's on pink, don't you? Because it's an inference. Remember an inference? Collect multiple details, put them together to come up with something that the authors never said. The category is on pink. Look, pink! It is not by accident that is on pink. Yeah, because it's an inference. You've got to be able to put these together and do the hard work. Okay, help me with this next one. Help me with the next one. I'm going to, all right, as you look on your screen, I'm going to take away some of the details that we originally had because I've used some and I might have used a few more. And whether you call it personal growth, development, satisfaction. Okay, now let's look at these remaining details. And I have them here, these remaining details. And I'm wondering, can we find another grouping? Help me find another grouping. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom in and we're only going to work on one side. We're just working here right now. Okay. And so I'm wondering if you see any details that would go together. Okay. And it's not about personal growth, satisfaction, development. What do you see? Just pick up a detail. Just look at one. Okay. Okay. Friends in college. Okay. So college friends for life. Good. Okay. Now wait a minute. Just talk about that one for a second. What's that about? It's about detail, or it's about people. Okay. Meeting people, relationships. Okay. So now, can you find anything else about meeting people and relationships? Make more money to get out of debt? No, that's not it. Network and build contacts with professors and internships? Is that about networking? Wait, yeah. Okay, wait. So what can we say about that? So we're networking, we're building relationships, we're meeting people. Okay, I'm just writing that down. And I'm writing it down on yellow because it's my thinking voice. It's my thinking as to how I see these details going together. So I'm gonna move this one down here. Okay, and so networking, relationships, okay, meeting people, okay, that's good. And I have at least two. All right, so now let's look over and remember, we've got to make sure it works on both sides. It's got to fit both topics. So do you see any on the right side there about the workforce that is also about meeting people or relationships? Oh, yeah, it says building relationships with your coworkers. Okay, good. You can't have a group without at least two. What else you got? You see another one? Networking with employers, right? Even before your peers in college because they are in class. All right. Do you see anything else about meeting people, building relationships, networking? Anything else go together? Job training, money management, happy, productive citizen, on the job. Probably not. Maybe just those two. Okay, so, and we see those going together because they're also about people, right? And networking and building relationships. Okay, are you starting to see a possible category here? Are you starting to see how we could put these together? Okay, wait a minute. In order to have a category in a comparison, the category has to fit both topics. You've built groups for both topics. Now you've got to come up with a pink category that kind of names this collection of details that we've got going on here. So how could you say that? What, compare college and going to work for what category? What comes to mind? Something about people, something about relationships. It doesn't have to be a sentence. It could just be a phrase or a label. What's coming to mind? Okay, you could just say relationships. You could just say networking. Yeah, meeting people. Okay, yeah, boom, you just did it. That's the inference. You just came up with the category of comparison. You see in the paragraph now, right? Are you seeing it? And do we have similarities and differences, right? Each row has to have similarities and differences. Networking with employers, networking with professors, right? And we have differences as well. Okay, friends for life and just coworkers for right now. And we have similarities and differences up here for this category. So what we're learning to do in this lesson is how you go through the same process using a T-chart for nonfiction texts and topics. And the key is that you first list everything you know, and then start with one side only, and you start to find 2 or 3 or 4 details that go together that you could group together. And you put that thinking, what you're thinking about the group, why are you putting those together? And then, jump over to the other side, because the group has to work for both texts and topics. So you jump over, and once you say, yeah, I got some grouping over here too, ba-bam, label it. You just made the big, tough inference, and now you're setting yourself up to truly compare these 2 topics. Well done. Okay, if you were in Mrs. Smekens' class, here's what I would ask you to do. I have even more facts and details about going to college versus going right into the workforce. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to read through these lists. This is more additional, different details, okay? And I want you to do just like we did. Start to find a group in the college category, okay? And then look for a similar group in the go to work category, and boom, add the label. And I'm giving you a T-chart on the next page. What is the label? And you can transfer that information over. What would be the category that you have? And make sure you have similarities and differences on both sides, you guys. Okay? And then I want you to find a second category, and I want you to find a third. I want 3 different categories, and you don't have to use all the details, okay? We didn't use all the details. You just have to have multiple details, 2, 3 details or more per category. That's what we're looking for. There's no certain answer key to what the category should be. Depending on how you group things, you could move them around. For example, relationships and meeting people exposed to a wide range of people. That could have been here. There's no answer. It's all in your logical thinking and organization. But I want you to come up with at least 3 more categories, and none of them can be personal growth, or relationships, or networking. Don't let any of them be that. Okay, so you can do this by just using the digital information here and grabbing paper and doing it just on paper. Make your own T-chart. You can print off my T-chart and fill it in. Or I also made it as a Google Doc. And so I've already got it all typed in. So all you would have to do is actually just start to move around those details and make room and type in your category. Or you could copy and paste onto the second slide and just use the ones you need. I am not expecting that you will use all of the details I give you. No, that's normal. It's not a worksheet. Everything won't find a home, all right? But just put things together in logical groupings. I'm looking for 3 more categories of comparison between going to college versus going to work. If you were in Mrs. Smekens' class, that's what you'd be doing, but your teacher might have a better idea.